girl. As you do it. Bonding experiences. You know what I'm saying? Brand new best of 3. First semifinal of the Banshee tournament number 13. In the top right is the pink Zerg. Currently the person to beat. Whenever she joins the tournament, she wins that tournament. Even when things look grim. It is the pink Zerg, Tilia. In the bottom left is the red Zerg. She is Miyamori. So we have a ZVZ in this semifinal and a TVT in the other one. So it's a guaranteed TVZ finals. Now, Tilia has gotten the closest to losing because of TVZs. Where I believe she faced a Terran player who managed to get a game off of her in a finals. It was just a 3-1. I don't think it was a 3-2. Pretty sure. ZVZs are where we see things kind of slip up. You know, Tilia will do a couple of Skippy the Banley Nest type of macro builds and then be punished for it occasionally. She'll take a couple of bad Baneling hits and eventually get overwhelmed by someone equal to or close to her skill level like QB. Things can happen. More so than in a TVZ, where she does have a weakness in TVZ that, you know, we could highlight when she makes it to the finals, if she makes it to the finals. But just to quickly say it, like, early game stuff can sometimes really snowball against Tilia. But because of her experience as a pro gamer and just being generally better MR-wise than most of the contestants, she is able to bring it back through forcing her opponents to make mistakes. Which is all StarCraft 2 is about. Thank you, Peak5G, for that tier 1 sub. Spinecrawler's on the way here. I think, I'm going to go ahead and check here. I'm going to go ahead and check this out. Hold on. Ooh, when would it have been? Number 9? Number 8? I mean, I think I might have been in a round of 8, so it's going to be really hard to figure it out. But, guys, let me know if anything happens. Yeah, I'm just going to follow these links. Oh, Bailey Nest on the way from Yamori. Hold on. Nope, wasn't that one. Wasn't that one. Oh, Ritzio is also a Protoss player I forgot about. Wasn't that one. Ah! Oh, it was even last tournament. Wow. My memory sucks. So, number 12, Miyamori got 4th place, 3rd to 4th. And she took a game off of Tilia, and that was the game. I remember the game at the very least. I don't remember the time of the game. Oh, that sucks. Really wanted to save that hatchery timing. Because the hatchery's going to get up. Like, that's kind of a fact in ZVZ, but now you're significantly behind going into Ling Wars that is directly tied to how much larva you're going to have. That's very scary. So the way that Miyamori won, and hell, it might have been on this map if I'm remembering correctly, was that she was very aggressive with Ling Baneling, and she was pretty good with it too. And Tilia skipped a Banley Nest and did not have it within her to survive without it. Because it is possible, it's just really, really difficult. So I think Tilia might be remembering that. The Spinecrawler was a little cautionary, and obviously she canceled it. She has her own Banley Nest at a very decent time. So she should be able to defend against this with good micro. But, you know, we'll see how this goes. This is one of the reasons we changed the rules to have Europeans also get their shot at the server. Since a lot of these Ling Baneling wars come right down to a ping issue. Not always, but, you know, often enough. Tilia having some struggles, just too many Lings, not enough Banelings, not enough of her own Lings to combat them either, and not taking efficient trades here. Look at that! 2 Banelings for 2 Lings was ideal for Miyamori, and she didn't have to micro that much to do so. Tilia was just looking somewhere else. Things are starting off very well for our red Zerg player. She continues on the pressure. She's not going to stop. It's a 2-base... I mean, well, it's 2-base minerals mining, but, like, it's technically 3-base, I guess. And not even really 2. It's an all-in. You're not expecting really a drone from here as Miyamori anyways. Maybe you can do this attack when you find the victories here and there, you do start to macro out of it, because there's always that chance. Miyamori has shown in her series versus Tilia that she just does not stop. And Tilia should not be expecting her to stop. things can get scary. There's always a bit of a lull, though, as injects pop up, and then you have to wait for the lings to make it across the map, and that's where Tila is finding the time to make additional banelings, but things are still very scary. Miyamori has the army supply lead, and yes, a baneling could change that. A single baneling could. It is still scary to consider. Telia entirely on the defensive. No extra queens to help snipe the banelings either. In fact, she's missing a queen from her third or main, something like that. And in fact, I think that's something she should probably be getting now. She is not gonna have enough gas currently to make roaches, so the best thing she could do, if she can't make enough lings anyways, is to get a queen to help her out. But things are very tight anyways. It's you know, certainly a decision to be made, not just an obvious thing to always get. Things are dying on a little bit. Telia might be willing to give up her third hatchery, considering the, you know, maybe the macro game's still gonna go in her favor. Believing her macro would still win out, but it's definitely not what you want to do. That would put her significantly behind, as the drone counts are really not that different. Lings, once again, going to the main base. I mean, Telia getting just a couple of roaches does help snipe the banelings, but a couple of roaches do not stand up against a large swell of lings, so her drones are going to have to be pulled into this. As Telia is waiting for her own lings, she's going to lose some drones in process. Miyamori might have found the victory here. Telia unable to stop the flood of lings, and that is it. GG, well played. Miyamori takes game number 1 on the NA server. We started off on NA, guys. So even if Miyamori had lost that to then go into her server preference, I think she would have been feeling very confident. Now that she's won it, we're going to stay on NA East. It's Telia's map choice, but it's scary. This is where things get scary. Oh wow, ZVZ is so interesting and exciting as lings and banelings constantly crash into each other and the momentum swings back and forth, and God, you're so stupid. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but seriously, don't follow the channel, just go away. No, I shouldn't say that. But really, go fuck yourself. No, I'm just really being mean. Fun fact, Tilly uses the Diva announcer pack, and that's why I cheer against her. No, that's a joke. That's a straight up joke. Year 0 is her map choice, so it's a pretty big map. It might be what she's thinking of. Getting the lobby set up now. So my, shit-talking that guy aside about ZVZ, to legitimately talk about ZVZ for a second for people who might be watching StarCraft for the first time in a while because it's on the front page. Hello, welcome back. If you've never watched it, then hello, welcome. It's a great game, and the community is a lot better than most other communities. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's pretty great. ZVZ, if you haven't watched it at all, or if you did, you remember that time where it was kind of boring. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was boring too a couple years ago. I was like, oh no, no thank you. There's also a time where PvZ was just, like, shoot me. It was so boring, like 5 years ago. And I guess the Void came along and really helped that out, but even then, sometimes it gets a little, like, repetitive. But ZVZ has really, really, really come into its own in the last year and a half, 2 years. Basically, I think a year is more appropriate. That's when we saw, I guess Cero really started to utilize roaches so that they weren't just the boring, like, hi, I got more roaches than you, the Conky's a little bit better, okay, I guess I win. Like, he was using them in very fantastic, almost Ling-like ways to make them fun. Zerg players basically, like, would all have to come up to Cero's skill level. That's how it works when someone really good comes along. And then we had more and more fun roach battles. We had tons of early pools, changing how the game goes up. Okay, I have to wrap this up real quick. And then towards the end of last year and going into this year, we saw a lot more Ling-based compositions and more muta play for, trick mutas later on after roaches, or even fast muta play. It's been actually a very fun meta, very fun matchup for about a year. So I'm sorry if you think that it's the same old all the time, but you're wrong. You're basically wrong. It's an opinion thing, ZombieGrub. You can't say that. Yeah, but I'm going to. So, In the top left, we do have the Blue Zerg Miyamori up 1-0, but oh, look what Telia is doing. I thought this was going to be, you know, it's a big map, right? Like, I'm not wrong. From natural to natural, it seems like a long time. But Telia chooses this map not to go for a macro build, but rather to go for some cheese. She is going for a pool first and then a gas. And not just a pool first, sorry. It's an early pool. And that is seriously dedicated. And she still has her guys in gas, so that's probably going to be Bailing Nest as well. Ballsy move right there. That is, I mean, on one of the bigger maps that we have, when you're down a game, there's no losers bracket. That's guts right there. All right. Bailing Nest is coming down. So maybe there's something that I haven't figured out yet because I haven't got to cast too many games in the new map pool. What about the Overlord positioning? Because it's always the takeaway, you know, the give and take of ZVZ is that, oh, my Lings don't make it there as fast, but neither does your Overlord. So maybe you don't see my Lings. And that's currently what's happening. The Lings were not scouted. So we have Miyamori, who went for a pool before gas, but still after hatchery, not immediately making as many Lings as possible. She was just doing the standard macro build, and this is exactly what Telia wanted. So I guess now I can see why she chose this map. She's already getting a drone kill, but that's not really what she wants or needs. She needs to do a bit more here. Miyamori needs to recognize that this is going to be a Baneling follow-up as well. So the Overlord seeing more Lings here, but then more importantly, this Overlord seeing the lack of hatchery should tell her that. And while you saw her initially pull the drones to seemingly tackle the Lings that are natural, she pulled them back. The fear of two Banelings running in, here they come now, right, is too great. And it was spot on in this case. But, oh, wow, the Broodlings almost tackle the Baneling. The Queen gets the last shot here. Excellent initial defense for what was one of the last second possible scouting that Miyamori could have had, but maybe it's not going to be enough. The Spine Crawler goes down. It wasn't awfully protected. She thought she had time to get it up to help on the main ramp, when really she probably should have put it behind or something like that in the mineral line. Then it would be done and helping out, but still only partially, because if it's in a mineral line, the Baneling's already close to your mineral line. Ergo, it's not so good. Miyamori does finally have her own Baneling Nest done, and Baneling's on the way, but is it too late? Good split of the drones, but remember, all of this lack of mining directly contributes to lack of Lings in the future. Right now, these are some of the only Lings you're going to be able to have, and there's the trade, 2 for 2 Banelings, but also trading for all of Miyamori's Lings. This is maybe not the most fantastic start with the loss of 2 Banelings, but the follow-up here is really working out. Telia needs to continue with the momentum. It's such a large map that she could win the game right here, right now, but if it was to be stalled out, momentum stalled out, maybe the macro game would happen. It wouldn't be a great macro game. Miyamori would still be way behind, but it's not going to be a game anymore. She does get the victory. It's going to be 1-1. Tied up. Is Telia not just relying on the whole idea that I'm a better player, I can do the macro game. Like, what, you know, don't, no. And this is why she wins tournaments. Even when she's down 2-0. Even when she seems to have someone who knows how to defend against her Ling run buys and how she plays and stuff, is that she does have the guts to do this. So now Miyamori. This is where things get a little complicated. So we are going to go to Europe. Telia has not had a lot of time to practice on Europe, because I was definitely late to announcing that this was what we're going to do. I brought it up last time, but I didn't actually announce that it was officially was going to happen. But Telia, you know, I talked to her about it, and she said, okay, like, it is the fair rule set, so if you want to do it today, then go ahead. And that's what we did. But she hasn't got a lot of time to practice on the ping. This makes it very interesting. Thank you, Anders Craft, for the 2-month resub. Nice rants. Oh, thank you. I thought it was funny. If any of you are new, or again coming back to StarCraft, you should also make sure to check out the alpha cast. Oh, okay. The AI alpha star that happened yesterday. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Especially if you're a nerd. We're all nerds. I'm guessing Miyamori, but spelled really weird, is her account on Europe. They're both ready to go. We'll see how Telia deals with the ping, as almost guaranteed. Almost guaranteed Miyamori's going to pile on the Ling pressure once again. There's really no reason for her to be like, you know what? You know what'd be good this time around? Yeah, I'm going to Roaches. I'm gonna play a nice, slow game of Roaches. There's actually no reason for her to do that. Someone's going to be like, no, it's the ultimate metagame. And I'll be like, is it? Is it, though? No. If it's, if it's Roaches, I don't know. Not gonna say I'll eat a shoe. But I'll have to admit I'm wrong, and I don't like that. Okay, dokie then. In the bottom right. Just going like, she's just like, you know how like the way that you face your fears, if you're afraid of rats, you get a pet rat? That's what she's doing, alright? So this ping is going to directly affect any early pool openers, especially. Okay, it's even more micro intense than maybe later on when you have a surplus of banelings. And she's just diving right into it. Another early pool coming out from the player in the bottom right. It is the pink Zerg Telia. In the top left, there's the red Zerg. She is Miyamori, who spells it in the her account name on America is like the Japanese way, and this is the most like an American heard it and tried to write it way. Oh, and also another difference. I you know, maybe I shouldn't say this as a fact because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly sure that Miyamori went for a pool then a gas last game. Which 99% of the time, if you're gonna go for a hatch first, you go hatch, gas, pool. So I thought I saw that difference, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, point is, she is going for hatch, gas, pool. And she's even going for a couple extra drones here. Did she go for extra drones on the... I think she did as well. So yeah, so extra drone and then right into an Overlord. So it could have been, I guess, technically a little worse. But the best news for Miyamori, despite her opening, is that she's able to see the Lings a lot earlier this time. And her Overlord's going to get the confirmation on the lack of hatchery a bit earlier as well. So, I mean... the scouting was good enough as far as determining if it was a Bailey nest or not last game. It's going to be even faster this game, and maybe that will help out. We'll see about that. I'm not entirely convinced it was the lack of... well, it might have been. It might have been a lack of Overlord Scout that killed Miyamori. I mean, she's getting more Lings than she did in the last game, right? She didn't go for that extra drone. She went through Overlord at 19, so she really has that space to build whatever she wants, not worry about being supply blocked. And she might even be able to squeeze out a queen here, which is just, it would be a huge difference, right? The Spine is also already done. This is all the stuff that she was ready to go for because she maybe even anticipated Telia doing this again. But what she doesn't have this game are Banelings, not yet anyways. And Telia was getting awfully close to using that Baneling on the Lings. Telia is going to go back into a drone here. Was hoping to find Miyamori, I guess, just, you know, assuming that she wouldn't do an early pool or anything too Ling-based. She was hoping that would happen. Not actually what happened. So, Miyamori was prepared. Still loses the hatchery, though. If you defend this committed of an early pool with the hatchery still alive, the offensive player did something really wrong. Really, really wrong. So that's going to be expected, but they should have a stronger drone count. And, yeah, that's exactly what's been happening. Oh my god, I didn't even see that Baneling. Oh my god. Okay. I just did not see it at all. And Miyamori almost took a nasty hit. Her Banelings would have survived. It was only one Baneling, but still. I guess, I mean, the Banelings are now at half health. The Lings here are able to chip them away. I can't believe that Telia stuck around this long to even get these kills, but okay. All right. Now, you watch that, maybe you're like, okay, what is the point, though? Like, there's no follow-up attack from Telia, who is building drones. She's getting an upgrade, the hatchery, right? And Miyamori is not going to have to build any more units either, so what's the point of that? But there was a chance that Telia didn't see the spawning pool wiggle jiggle. In this case, the lack of wiggle jiggle, but the point is, like, maybe she could have thought that there would have been a serious counter. And if she was purely defensive there, kind of contained into her own box of a natural without a second queen, that Miyamori could have been offensive with all those Banelings. But by doing that, she was kind of in control of the situation, and now that she keeps confirming, constantly confirming there's no speed, she knows that she is in control of this EVZ. That doesn't mean that she's going to win it, but it means that she can make more appropriate responses to what she scouts because she has the speed, because she has the speedy units that can cause weird base trades, can bring armies back, and can sometimes overwhelm, right? But Miyamori is not going for any type of slow build-up roach play like Telia should be thinking of. As she, again, sees no link speed, she should be like, okay, well then what are you doing? Why is there no Roachmorn at the front with an evolution chamber? And if you don't see that, then your mind should be going to a Nidus Worm. But, the caster, I can say that as if it's obvious. When you're playing it, it's not actually that obvious. But Telia has yet to send anything into the main base to see the lair, which would be a big, huge tell, or the Nidus Worm, which is right there. So maybe this will work for Miyamori. This is going to be really close, but +1 care is going to be done. Telia is not over-droning, not, overestimating her chances that it's going to be a macro game. She is just making ling after ling after ling. Having that upgrade to help her out against the roaches is really, really big. And the Banelings in this regard are also going to be helpful, as they can splash against what is a small but clumped up amount of roaches. Oh my god, though! Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. So, either she didn't realize that Miyamori had remade her Lings, or that was ping. Or both. Probably both, right? She was supposed to have a lot more Lings that at the very least she could decide not to engage those roaches. I don't know. I think Miyamori's gonna win, guys. I think this is gonna be the first time that Telia hasn't won a tournament she participated in. A lot more Lings are on the way, and Telia is, she's got that upgrade. But there are so many roaches left over, although they are weak. And she would have been able to deny the Nidus in general if she was able to tell what was happening, if she hadn't lost those Lings that she did. I don't know, I mean, maybe Miyamori doesn't win. The Nidus Worm does go down. Another one is stopped in its tracks. Well, +1 Carapace is going to be fantastic for this set of units. But the wall that Miyamori found on her back was very helpful as well. And a snipe on the Baneling just to lessen the splash damage. Not a lot of damage on these type of units, but it is splash damage. God, this is really, really close. But we have more roaches on the way here. Still up at 8. And Telia just cannot get enough Lings for the life of her, right? Like, she hasn't had injects in the main base for a while. This third base hasn't even been done, much less injecting. And I think it is. We finally did it! Miyamori defeats Telia 2-1. Not easily, but it happened. And now we have the question of who faces Miyamori in the finals. Well, damn. I thought if QB was here today that it might be a significant change, which is why I wanted to, ask Telia if she was okay with it first and foremost, but it ends up being Miyamori where the change is most significant. So congrats to Miyamori. She's in the finals. Who's going to face her? Deity or Kyla? I'm going to take a very quick break while I move over to NA, and then we'll get that semifinal started. Thanks for watching, everyone. We are in the second semifinals. The winner is going to face not Telia, but Miyamori for what is the first time ever. As long as Telia signed up for a tournament, she would win it. Today, history has been made. It's StarCraft 2 history, everyone. I'm tasteless, casting with Artosis. No, I'm kidding. In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, we have Deity. In the top right, As the orange Terran, she is Kyla. I believe these two have faced against each other before, but who was the better TV tier? I think Kyla was. I think the Terrans that I remember, it's Deity beats Andromeda, but Kyla beats Deity, I think is how it goes. And we don't have any aggressive openers. They're both SEV Scout and they're both 1x expanding, so I can take the time to go look. Number 10. Deity beat Andromeda. Actually, no, maybe it was Deity beat Kyla. But have they actually played before? Am I making that up? I might be making that up. Deity versus Andromeda again, but not Kyla. Deity versus Kyla. Okay, no, I wasn't making it up. Haha! Kyla did 2-0 Deity a long time ago. In the tournament number 3. But it sounds like Kyla hasn't been playing as much. Maybe Deity has. I think they both really haven't been playing as much. So, I don't know. I don't know. Well, for now, I'm going to guess that Kyla takes this, but it is a guess. I don't actually know. And TVT is a fickle beast, man. It is some type of matchup. Yeah, I was wrong. Was I wrong? What the hell is, oh, there it is. Deity went for a factory expand. I could have sworn she was gonna 1x expand because, whoa, because she was SCV scouting, but that wasn't the case. She did get the second gas, faster factory. But she's not building a starport as fast as she could have been. She's building 2 Reapers at a time. So going up to 3 Hellions and 3 Reapers, not unheard of, and in fact even popular in some series. Going for reactored Hellions, that's weird. But probably not as weird as going for reactored Reapers right off the bat. Not even right off the bat. I faced people in my league, which Masters 1 really isn't anything compared to the pros, but that start off with a reactor into 2 Reapers, but this is some weird timing. It does eventually get you to what I was talking about, which is 3 Reapers, 3 Hellions, and that's something that Kyla will need to be a little scared of. 4 Hellions, yeah, better. Definitely better just to wait for the 6, especially because she lost her crowd control, she lost her grenade, and didn't go for a second Reaper. Well, that didn't go as well as you would have thought it. That's what happens with the shots of the Hellion being in a line, I guess. And it does eventually favor our orange Terran. Okay, one more Hellion bites the dust, but not that one. And we still have the reactor on the factory, so more Hellions could be made. Now, it's really weird. It's funny. It gets a little stupid, actually. Because what you would expect for the Terran player to do post that attack is go into a Cyclone. It is the unit that helps you against everything in the early to mid game of TVT. Late game, not so useful. So that's what Deity does. Okay, makes sense. But Kyla, by going for an extreme amount of Hellions, can technically take on the Cyclone. It'll take a little while, but Cyclone's really not that sturdy. So if you got the units, you got the units. And these Marines are going to hold up much either. So, I mean, if I was Deity, I'd be a little scared of seeing that reactor.
This better be good.
It's a bit of a, auto opener, so maybe she's expecting that to swap off or something like that. But not having a bunker when it's not a ramp-based map, ooh, I don't know. Ooh. I guess it'll be fine. She has a Raven. She has a lot of Marines. It's gonna be fine. I would have been a little scared. It is gonna be mech coming out for a oh, you got me. You got me, Kyla. Okay, for a oh, you got me again. Kyla. 3rd CC for Deity. Is only a little bit behind Kyla's. She should recognize. Ah, she already did, actually. She saw the factory. So she knows about the mech, and how is she going to respond to mech? So far, not going for any faster stim. Should she go her own mech? Okay, it's going to be bio, but the stim's not going to be too helpful too soon. I'm going to go for her attack. This is a more normal-looking amount of units. Marines, Cyclone, Tank, Raven. That's exactly what you would expect. And it's going up against what is vulnerable units unless they get really decent shots. And Kyla not having her own tank out yet, just about not even halfway done, means that Deity's going to be able to get into a powerful position. Although 2 Ravens to 1 should mean that Kyla's fine. Yeah, in fact, just spamming auto turrets works out fine. Wasn't a large army from Deity. Auto turrets do pack a punch when left unattended. Things are pretty even, though. In fact, the tank survives, and that was probably the one thing that Kyla was hoping to get rid of first and foremost. But now she has the production, second tank. Kyla's first tank pops out, and that'll be the death of Deity's push. Now, behind this, her macro wasn't too poor, so it's like, as long as that was still rocking and rolling, she could sacrifice an attack like that, trade out evenly like that, and maybe less evenly by a little bit, right? And that'll be fine, but she needs to skedaddle on her 3rd CC timing, because Kyla's already to it, and if you can't stop the 3rd CC of the mech player, you're still not screwed, but then suddenly you can't stop the 4th CC getting down location either. Ooh, that's when things are scary. Thank you, Beefy Black G. I made sure to read the entire name before I said that. For the Twitch Prime sub. Double armory coming down, and it's more power to her at this point. Deity did not give that very quick stim. She doesn't have a ton of bio production, although it's really starting to get ramped up now. This is not a situation where Kyla had to be really afraid of being outmaneuvered because you start off with a very low number of units as a mech player, Hellions or not. Now, this situation where they're both really getting to that mid-game, and double upgrades is appropriate. By the time Deity is ready to move out with double medevacs, all of her upgrades done, she'll have a large army, sure, but you'll also have enough tanks and ideally a couple of stack defenses set up. This turret here, some tower over there type thing. And you'll be fine. So 1-1 is on the way. So behind the bio player, which is what you would want. In the just epitome of a mech versus bio TVT, it's the bio player gets faster expansions, more economy, better upgrades, more units, and then the mech player is all slower on those regards. With the payoff being that if you survive, you do get the better army. And then we have to talk about the swap to starports. But we're not quite there yet. And I don't know if Deity is the player who likes going into starports. It is kind of just it's what you have to do now. There was a period where, Tasia or Maru or someone was, I guess they're coming from 2 different periods, but the point is, like, you could outmaneuver kind of reliably and make a very even back and forth mech versus bio game. But nowadays, we see a lot more of even the professional Korean Terrans just go, okay, I tried my drop twice, and then it didn't work. Okay, on to Vikings. On to the Supreme late game. So we'll see how Deity plays. Automaton is a very large main, if you couldn't tell, with the Vikings. And though there are 4 missile turrets, they were not spread out that well, so... Medevacs don't even take any fire. They get right into that main base. Deity so far is playing a very good TVT. I mean, the last time these gals played was... like 4 months ago. So, and as said, Kyla had mentioned she wasn't playing a whole lot. Just because Kyla 2-0 to 1 doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be. And in fact, I think that Deity's playing the better game a bit overall, but then didn't escape out here with 2 medevacs, which would have been just like it would have been the best. I was going to do an Italian, kiss thing, but then I said not to. It would be the best. It would be just actually the kind of perfect way to play out, because then you know that they still haven't had the resources to invest in the more missile turrets, and that's another potential comeback with the 2 medevacs. Doesn't get it, gets destroyed. And it also wasn't ideal because Deity wasn't moving her army out to threaten another portion of Kyla's army. That would have been the most ideal play there, so. But it's all really good ideas, and she is adding on a 2nd starport already. So is Kyla. But that is, I think it's a bit trickier for the mech player who's just defending to have the appropriate timing of the swap to Vikings. So they go too soon, make too many Vikings, suddenly don't have enough tanks. Speaking of tanks, the Raven is killed, but it does get 3 tanks. Thank you, Interference Matrix. Tanks on the backside, there is a depth to Kyla's tanks, so this is not going to continue to a victorious push. And in fact, it was even a little bit overeager, I think, from Deity, as now she has nothing to stop the 4th CC. Although she is continuing to rally, and Automaton from the 3rd base to the 4th base, or 4th to 4th, whatever, is really not that long. She wants to stall out the 4th base from getting on location. If this 4th base gets on location as a planetary, the tanks move forward, there's missile turrets suddenly as well. Things are looking bad as far as like ground bio versus mech goes, and then you really have to rely on the Viking War going in your favor. But it can be hard to do. You know, generally the mech player has the start on the Viking War, and if they're reading the game appropriately, they can match you and then some. And if they don't think they can, if they're like, okay, I know what's going on here, I can't catch up to the economy and the bio player, I'm gonna go for Thor's. And Thor's, they've got that added range. This is the most recent patch, like of Tuesday, guys. They have that added range to their javelin missiles, or whatever the hell it's called. And this is the first time I'm gonna be able to see it used in this type of game, but it should help out when Liberators come into play. And that is specifically what Thors are good against. You know, they're kind of an emergency response, because once Liberators have their range, then they can't really deal with them. But we'll see what it's like with +1 range on it. +8 is not even up to Liberators and Liberator range yet, so that's again something a little bit off, but that should be where we're heading to. Deity is keeping up the macro. 4th base is a lot quicker than her opponents. 5th base is already on the way, scanned, and I guess the single Hellion will try and interrupt things here, but this is some good macro play from our blue Terran. Our orange Terran's not doing anything wrong, it's just that so much of this is more on the bio player doing something to Kyla than it is paying attention to Kyla just repositioning her tanks, really. She's not really investing a ton into his turrets on the offensive, like, oh my god, okay, that's set up, that's good to go. And that is going to potentially be a problem, because now you do have a situation where Vikings can land on the tanks, and drops could even happen on the tanks as well. That's not what happens here. The Vikings give their lives, but ended up being worthwhile, and the medevacs and bio is just simply used to tear down the planetary, so actually quite efficient. Now she still has the medevacs alive too, so no sacrifice on their part, and it does start to get a little tricky as you're kind of swapping over, but not entirely yet as the bio player. It's like, how many medevacs do I think I need versus how much do I really want to get up to that high Liberator count really, really quickly? 2 medevacs is a little low. You do 1 drop and you're dead. And that was an effective push. Couldn't out repair the DPS there. Kyla already has extra command centers, however, but this one's not going to be a planetary. It's going to just be a regular orbital. This one could try and double expand, and if Deity ever stops for a second, stops poking and prodding and perusing around, trying to get some tanks there, Thor's there, Vikings there, planetaries over here, that's when Kyla suddenly takes like 2 or even 3 bases without her noticing, and she's like, well, damn. You're not supposed to do that. Kyla has been kind of missing out on the harassment, so Deity really has been able to just entirely focus on this side of the map, and that's a thing missing from Kyla's play here. Would have helped a little bit earlier. It's going on now, but it's only equally trading on the SEV kills as Deity takes out this base, temporarily causes a lift off on the orbital, loses the bio, but at least saves a medevac, and this army took out a decent chunk of the missile turrets. I mean, that was like at least 4 missile turrets that she killed right there, right? Probably more.
Game paused.
Oh shit, I'm refereeing. And we're pausing. Should probably test the ping with a couple words. I gotta say, Deity's playing a much stronger game than I remember her playing. Vague memory of months and months ago in the TVT. I think she had all the right ideas, but her macro wasn't up to par. Or maybe it was the reverse. Maybe it was because she was too aggressive, which she almost, has done multiple times here. She's almost thrown away momentum because she was a little over aggressive, and if her macro was a bit poorer, or if she lost a bit more in her aggression, then suddenly there's a longer gap of time where Kyla can get up these bases, and then it very quickly snowballs in her mech favor. But no, Deity's been keeping up the pressure, mostly making the right calls, a couple mistakes here and there, and playing some really good anti-mech. Just go BCs and end it. Yeah. Well, if only that was the... If only you could teleport to BCs. And not just PCs teleporting. If only. Well, I got some serious deja vu right there, guys. Looks like she's still having trouble. I mean, I don't really mind waiting it out, but usually there are rules about how long you get a pause. I don't think we're gonna care that much unless she's waiting like 10 minutes. I have to be like really careful about this. As I have accidentally exited a game. I no longer have the pause break button. You know, I was just talking about being a little overzealous, and I think we're about to see it right here, right now. The Liberators do siege up, but they're right on top of a ton. Approximately fuck ton of Thors. 5 being made at a time here. As Kyla, actually, you could argue in a different scenario, over-invested into Thors. These are not as good as tanks and Hellions when it comes down to facing a big old bio ball. But what they are definitely good at are Liberators that don't have range sieging up on top of them. And did I just hype up Deity only to have her lose at the finish line? She gets a little too over-aggressive. There are still some tanks to support this. If this was just the Thors, I think Deity thinks that she's fine, but with even a couple of extra tanks added in here, things are still very scary. And I will say that one of the biggest mistakes, the biggest regrets that Deity should be having this game is not going directly up to the Liberator range. But she has a ton of barracks production. She's going to try and trade out as well as possible. She's sniping the tanks, I believe. That's why that one Thor didn't go down as quickly as it should have. But it's not going to be enough. This is 2-2 mech versus only 2-2 bio. I mean, only it's even, but the point is, perhaps it was 3-3 versus 1-1, and those Thors do go down a lot easier. But Deity now, maybe it's too late. You know, she's trying to siege up a tank to help her out, but the Thors just go ahead and stomp on through, and that armor supply is telling the tale, I believe. And Deity played a game, a very well-played bio versus mech game for approximately 14.5 minutes. And then did not, I think, appropriately scout the number of Thors or appropriately consider them. Maybe she underestimated how many there were or how strong they would be. She doesn't want to tap out, not because she thinks that she has a chance maybe, but more perhaps because she's like, well, I should be able to win this. Like, I've denied 2 of her bases for such a long time. I mean, can I not just come back from this? And it's like, I think you know. These Thors being the biggest Hellions to protect the tanks ever. GG. Ooh, that's a heart-wrencher. That's a, ooh, feels bad. You know, that's not just a regular loss. That's a advanced loss right there. Where you're doing a pretty damn good job. You're seemingly doing more than a mech player is, and you're like, this fucking mech player just built stack defense is stupid. And then one pretty bad mistake ends up ruining it. If she had only committed with the bio, but then kept the Liberators at home, or vice versa, then that doesn't snowball that bad, I don't think. But she kind of gave away her entire army in that attack. So be it. I was looking to make a map called Deity, and I was like, this isn't working out. It's Kairos Junction coming up next. And all the players you've seen for the last hour or so, this and the ZVZ you just watched, are all on the money. Not a bad chunk of change either for what ends up being usually a 3-hour tournament, sometimes 4. And especially thanks to you guys who have filled out the prize pool and then some, so that'll all be going into future Banshee tournaments. We don't need much more besides that. Just, you know, follow the channel and come back in 2 weeks' time when there's another one. is what I would say. That's what I request. And if you do like the content in general, then do consider subscribing using that Twitch Prime. I would appreciate it, but I'm not going to guilt trip anyone into it. Kylie needs a second. I killed Deity. Yeah, it was a caster curse for realsies. Mobby. Thank you, Zorak, for that Twitch Prime sub. Getting like 13 subs today. This is pretty awesome. If you tune into the stream from the front page of the Battle.net launch and you're like, ZombieGrub, I haven't heard of her. Who is she? Who's this zombie girl? Blah. Or alternatively, yeah, I kind of know her, but what does she really do? And you're actually sticking around, thank you. If you're currently AFK'd on the chat because you opened the stream once and you're no longer paying attention, well, then still, thank you. Add impressions, right? Okay, everyone's ready to go for the second game of this TVT. Deity is in Masters, while Kyla, I'm pretty sure, is usually Masters, but I don't think she's been playing a lot, so she's currently Diamond 1. Even if it wasn't the case, even if I'm totally wrong, and I made that up in my mind that she was Masters. Maybe, oops, that's the wrong one. Maybe maybe I saw she was Diamond, but then I watched her play, and I was like, actually, this might be more like Masters 3 material. Maybe that's where I got the confusion in, I don't know. But, as you can see here, literally in this series, sometimes it doesn't matter as much as how you play, the style you play, your opponent's weaknesses, and just in general, perhaps it's not as big of a gap as you build up in your minds. I think everyone who wants to advance on to that next stage, right? Maybe not Diamond 2 to Diamond 1. Maybe you're like, nah, I beat Diamond 1s all the time. Not a big deal. But anyone who's ever wanted to burst into Diamond or GM, Masters, I think they've all had that feel of like, oh my god, why are you throwing Masters players at me? I'm only Diamond 1. I can't do this yet. And then all of a sudden, 3 months on the road, you're like, this is easy. Masters players are stupid. We've all had that. So I don't know what to attribute, 100% to, but I'm kind of feeling maybe it's more just that Deity has a weakness is too strong of a term. She played a really good versus mech game, but she obviously had a weakness because she lost, so I'll use it. I think it's just more she has a weakness to mech. So Kyla is abusing her race, damn it. I need to make myself referee. I haven't had to use referee for its actual purpose in so long. Sometimes my co-caster would drop out of a game and I'd ask for a regame and stuff, but it's been a while. And the anxiety I get. I used the wrong then. Oh, I don't want to fix it.
Emergency induction port.
I had to fix it. I had to. Alright, thank you, Hard Suck Trash, for that Twitch Prime sub. I tuned in because I thought this was a cat stream. Oh! Sask? I don't know what that means. What the hell does that mean? Where's that? Cat cam.
Game resumed.
All right. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, currently the 1 base, it is Deity. Going for that second gas very quick. In the top left, as the orange Terran, she is Kyla. Currently setting up for next expand. Both gonna go ahead and SCV scout. Again, very, like, really not necessary if you're gonna go for the one base build. If it's a factory expand or a starport one, like either one, but it can help give you a more appropriate idea of how you can use, how aggressive you can be. Because if they're also one base, you gotta be a little more careful, right? And on top of that, you can use the scouting SCV as an offensive SCV to help your Reaper. And that's mostly what we see when people bother saying on an SCV scout with some type of more aggressive build, is that they do use this as part of their attack. Otherwise, like, really, the reason you see SCV scouts from a 1-Rax expander, by, you know, for instance, Kyla, is that they want to see if it's a 2-Rax. If it's 2-Rax and they're doing what they're doing, they're probably going to die. So they really need to scout what's going on. One base, it's already kind of a setup. It's a trap. If someone's doing a 2-Rax versus a 1 base, they're probably not going to get what they want. And I guess I didn't consider this. If she really is going for a 1 base all the way up to a starport, not a factory expand, then she could also use this SCV to build a proxy starport, which is certainly not foreign to TVT. We love to proxy our stuff, I guess. And that's exactly what's happening here. So the Reaper won't be used that offensively. Unfortunately, Kyla can't really read into that. You know, like, do most 1 base openers, especially if they scout that you're not 1 basing, go for more aggressive Reaper usage? Sure, I guess. But not that by that much. Like, it's like a 60-40 split there. Some 1 base players do wait for their 3rd Hellion or their Cyclone or something like that, and then they show all their stuff. And then other ones, they don't use SCVs. So there's really not any way for Kyla to tell that there's a proxy starport, besides being not aggressive with her Reaper, but more just kind of diving on top of scouting, trying to circumvent this army and then going around and getting into the main. So this is bad news for Orange Terran, who is doing the same build, it looks like, as last game, where she's going for Reactor Hellions, which, because a Reactor tend to do well, I guess, versus any type of opener. Even a fast Cyclone, she could probably technically live against. But it doesn't do well, for a fact, against a Liberator, because they don't shoot up. So Liberator, at its best, gets like 20 SCV kills. At its worst, denies 30 seconds of mining time. I mean, this could be huge. If the Raven pops up, it could throw down an auto turret, but then the Liberator can micro out of it if it's quick enough. If there's an interference matrix, that's still only a certain amount of time bought. So this should be effective. And if Deity's doing this because of the opener she saw from Kyla, then that's really, really good. She's from Saskatchewan? Maybe. Maybe you're right. Second factory is on the way. There's the Liberator showing itself. The instant pull away, at least it was instant. How's the attack going on the front lines? Once again, Deity tackling a greater number of Hellions, but having the CC of the Reapers tends to take a more decent trade than maybe she should have. But some nice little last second micro means that all 4 Hellions survive instead of just the 3 of last game. But this Liberator is a real doozy. If Deity's paying attention to it and runs away from the auto turret, which exactly... Oh, it's perfect. She was already unsieging by the time the auto turret was thrown down. Then the Raven is now just like... It's out of luck. A Wood of Mine pops out because it's going to be the thing that shoots up here. That is so much denied mining. The follow-up is Banshee. In this one situation, I think that following up with another Liberator would have been better. But either way, it's something that is going to be troublesome for Kyla to deal with. Even though she eventually will get to a Viking, and she has a Raven for the scouting... Wow, she's really microing this Liberator. If she micros the Banshee as well as she's been microing the Liberator, things will start going to be really, really weird. Now, this is going to take a lot of APM from our Blue Terran. And she's even starting to, like, maybe in a way, like, over micro. Like, she's really want to keep this Liberator alive, but it's not stalling out mining as long as she would have hoped. Kyla's also microing against it, pulling the SCVs, putting them back to mining instantly. There's a chance that Deity is also just really messing up Kyla's build more so than she's messing up her own build, and that's where most of us plebs, as not pro gamers, tend to falter. We have great ideas, we have perhaps even great micro execution, but even though we're doing damage and they're taking damage and we're messing up, they're messing up, it's like, well, who messes up the most? Whose macro starts to falter the most? It looks great offensively, I killed 20 workers, but oh wait, I didn't make 20 workers. Well, then what do you expect? Now this is cool. She waits for the second Banshee, also for having Cloak immediately. She could Cloak preemptively, so the barracks doesn't give any advance notice. And she's going to take a 3rd CC on location, already halfway done. Looks like it'll be successful. in its completion. Also not a bio follow-up here from Deity. She's gonna go into her own mech, and she's gonna be going into rocket launchers. This is something we saw Fantasy do for the IEM qualifiers. I personally am not a fan for Cyclone-based builds that last a long time, but Fantasy made him look good. And because it was mech versus mech, I think he made him look good, gooder than usual. I know English, guys. Trust me. These Banshees did not end up doing the extreme amount of damage that maybe Deity was hoping for, but 9 SCVs is not shabby. And again, potentially messing up Kyla more than she messed up anything back at home, because her production's mostly done. CC finished up and almost immediately into an orbital. Things are looking really good there. I guess we do see a spike of minerals, so there is some messing up to be had, as maybe her production was a little bit late, but already on her way up to the Cyclones with the upgrade almost done. It sucks that Kyla's having so much trouble with the internet. This must be more infuriating mentally, even, than its physical handicap. And she'll have to start asking for pauses, I guess, if she continues to have trouble. It's game number 2, and her opponent has started off with a strong opener, so it's very possible game number 3 she needs more pauses, but then I'll be refreshed.
Game resumed.
It's a mech versus mech game, though, and that's where I'm a little more worried that there might not be enough pauses for the time that we'll be watching this specific game. This is not a bad push coming out here for Kyla, because she's able to keep both Ravens alive. That was kind of default expectation, is there something that hits air either for Deity. So that's very powerful. The Cyclone count's not really up to anything substantial yet, and it really needs to be able to survive the tanks and get on top of them. Otherwise, Cyclones are just worse than tanks. And he really, even beyond this push, which temporarily forces a lift off on the 3rd CC, even beyond this, Deity needs to be careful not to be stuck on Cyclones. The reason that Fantasy won his game, he did against Keen, I believe, which is up on my YouTube if you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Was because he was able to trade out consistently versus the tanks and really just keep over-expanding as he controlled the map. It's a very hard balance to get when you play like that. So I don't know if Deity's gonna be able to get the same balance. She was probably hoping for a little while longer where the amount of Cyclones she had is a little bit more of a shock. Her Hellions are trying to take whatever tank fire is coming her way, but we also have auto turrets on the ground, the Raven's still being alive. Lock-on's not quite reaching them yet, and they really will have to be used on the tanks first and foremost to get the DPS out of the way. But, you know, behind this, Deity, true to what you should be doing when you go for Cyclones, kind of almost over-expanding here, already on a 4CC that wasn't scouted by Kyla, and her 3rd already lifted over to the right side. The Ravens were taken out, but we still have 2 tanks firing away, so the Cyclones really not being able to get to that scary number. I will say that because Kyla is no longer advancing forward, she should just be packing up and retreating. Because right now, maybe the Cyclone count isn't high enough. The Farron's advantage is really going to kick in, and she could be at a loss of any units if she's not careful. Rallying in TVT is generally not recommended. In extreme situations, it can be good, but generally, you don't want to do it. The risk of being concaved on because you didn't see a back attack or something like that, you know, or taking a bad fight against the Liberator pops up, something like that, or in this case, being overrun by Cyclones, means that you won't be able to replace fast enough. And you just die, even though you had a better economy and better army and whatever. Kyla is not taking that general advice and is continuing the aggression. Deity also not waiting for any more units. There's a tricky spot, I suppose, where it's like, well, one person thinks, you know, maybe they are being a little too overeager in this, and maybe they shouldn't continue to reinforce. The other person's like, well, if they continue to reinforce, then there's going to be even more tanks. And I'm going to die even faster. And it's like, well, I guess that's the sweet spot of breaking a contain, isn't it? The time between there's too much and there's too little for the person who is doing the contain. And they do a good overrun. It's tricky. But there we finally have the pack up and go home mark. Kyla just packs up her tanks, which there are still a decent number. She has a higher SEV count, so her economy is still looking good despite only just not getting on top of this other third and not knowing about this fourth, which is a planetary. Planetary's gonna be kind of weird against mech-based, damn it, tank-based mech because, well, lifting off is actually probably better. It looks like Kyla's doing something really smart here. Anytime she shows that she has unsieged tanks, it's because she has 2 tanks or 3 tanks behind that are sieged. And Deity isn't getting the strong enough number of both Cyclones and Hellions to buffer for her Cyclones to take on the army. I think this might have been might be just too far gone. The tank person is winning at this point. They kept their tank count high. They've been destroying the Cyclones as they pop out. Their economy's not as built up as nearly as fast, but it's a safer economy. And the army is better. That's always the trouble with doing Cyclones, is that the army of the tank player is going to get better, and they're going to get more tanks to defend more bases, so the harassment no longer works out, so on and so forth. Now, if you can get to air, then the Cyclone player will probably win that too. But that is a whole nother leap you have to take in TVT to go from Cyclones to air, and if you're already losing on the Cyclone War, then it's really hard. But they say if you do get to air, you know, see a second starport on the way. She has been trying to build Vikings and take sight away from Kyla. Then the Cyclones would take down any air that Kyla tries to make fast. Even if they die, they take them down pretty damn fast. But they don't really help against the Thors, and Kyla's not going to play Deity's game. Not going to play the Starport game again. She's going to go for the Thor game, which is really only a bad idea when your opponent has Liberators with range, and a decent number of Liberators too, protected by tanks usually. Thors can be a very good initial defensive option against a TVT that's kind of not going your way, and you fell behind the Vikings. But as time goes on, they're supposed to get worse. Well, this game, I think they're a perfectly right choice. Now here's a trade that Deity's been wanting to take for quite some time, as she loses a lot of tanks with none of them sieged up to get the return fire.
Game paused.
Once again, that's huge lag. Spiky. Kinda let's finish the game before the internet craps out again. Not a terrible idea, but she will have to face the finals in the same position. Doesn't seem like her internet's getting any better. Well, that was a decent trade. It was one of a lot of bad trades for the Cyclone player. And I think that Kyla should still feel rather confident here. I think she's also doing the style of play that benefits her situation the most. So ideally, as long as she has any tanks sieged up to protect other tanks, then even if she's not paying attention, even if she's not able to control the army, she still has just the default good trade.
Game resumed.
But that was the mistake she made there, was that she had none sieged up, and, well, finally Deity gets a little bit of a pick-me-up morale boost. The Hellions try and circumvent the Cyclones, but there's one thing you should always know about Cyclones, that they're speedier than tanks. Not as speedy as Hellions, they're still pretty speedy, so the reaction to that was quite quick. Only 3 Hellions died. But over here, what happened over there? Nothing happened over there. I don't know why she was scanning. I guess Kyla was just checking if there was a 6th base. Oh, because she still doesn't know about the 5th. That's right. She's checking if there's a 5th. And unfortunately has not scanned over here. Now she's scanning for where the army is to make sure she doesn't get pounced upon once more. She has double sensor tower protecting most of her bases. A little bit of a weak spot over to her 4th, I suppose. But we know that Deity's not ready to be aggressive. Tanks are sieged up. The interference mages go down on a Thor to try and let the Liberator handle things, but it's not going to work out, and that is going to be game. Kyla takes the 2-0, despite a very strong start in game number 1 for Deity. That second game, if you just came in the second game and you're like, wow, this wasn't even close, it was. Deity showed some really good stuff. But Mech probably continuing to be a tough nut to crack. Means that Kyla will be advancing on to face Miyamori in a TVZ best of 5 finals. Who's going to be the Banshee Queen this time? This is the first time we haven't had QB. making, y'all. History in the making. I'm getting used to Game Heart now. After getting used to WCS Overlay. And the way that you add the scores is slightly different. Ah! Alright. In the top left is the blue teal Terran, who was having internet trouble. Ah! It got worse, it didn't get better. It is Kyla. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, she is Miyamori. She is the one who took down Telia in a ZVZ. She got close last time they faced, so it's like not the most surprising thing, but still. Telia is usually very good at making the comebacks happen, pulling it out at the end, all that type of stuff. So, it is still a bit of a surprise. First time we haven't had a finals with either QB or Telia. So who gets the crown here? Who gets the first place prize, and who gets the title of Banshee Queen in the Discord, which is just the most coveted thing in the whole world. Tell you what. What is the Banshee tournament, please? It's a woman-only tournament in StarCraft 2. It's actually very simple to explain, isn't it? Thought it'd take more than that. SCV Scout, Kyla probably hasn't faced Miyamori too often. Miyamori being European, being quite above in the MMR, I believe, as well. And then, so far, only showing some ZVZs when I get around to casting her. So Kyla really has no idea what to expect from a Zerg player. SCV Scout is a safe way to go. Plus, you could always use this to engineer bay block, third base. This internet issue seems to be getting worse and worse, though. It is literally worse. This is the first time we've seen the pop-up come up. Once Kyla gets amazing internet, she'll dominate. I'm just saying that Kyla is definitely high masters at least. I was saying that she's masters too, which I guess in some ways is high masters, isn't it? But she placed in a Diamond 1 this season. And maybe in middles or more on Masters 3. I don't know. I think we see a lot of mech from her. And that is it's a strong way to play. That's, I think, where I was talking about this earlier. You know, I think that's where most people, if they're going to complain about something specific, instead of just saying, like, oh, my macro is worse than that. No, I can't, you know, Terran in general is stupid or something like that, right? If they're going to complain about something specific, it does seem to be a lot of mech, right? For the other races, I guess there's a lot of complaints specifically about maybe Brood Lords or High Templars and Storm. But, like, yeah, I feel like when I hear about specific compositions giving people trouble, it's mech. And I'm on board with that, because I also struggle against mech. There's something about it, probably because it's a lot like playing versus Protoss, and I'm bad at that too, that I can't quite overcome. So, she might be punching above her weight for the style that she plays. Yeah, I want to talk about, you know, having a tournament without any surprising results. We're going to talk about Scarlet playing. I mean, come on now. Thank you, Alice, for the 47 months. 47. Where's 47 is? You guys could have a party. It would really suck to have her drop out. I know if she does, I guess I could try and contact 80 to play the finals, but she might already be gone doing other things. She consistently beats 5k plus players in customs, so like, well, how am I supposed to know that? I didn't know I was supposed to be stalking every one of these players. You can find Kyla at a nearby internet cafe. It sounds like she lives kind of in the middle of nowhere. And whether that's literally in the middle of nowhere or more like, oh, I live in the suburbs of someplace, it's probably not too likely she has an internet cafe right next to her. I live in the suburbs and not really in the middle of nowhere, but still, if I think about going to find an internet cafe, I have to drive 40 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Internet cafes in the US, funny joke. The only reason there are internet cafes around me is because I live near a lot of Koreatowns. Lucky. I think she's just being self-appreciating. Self-deprecating. I used to know that phrase, and then I like started second-guessing myself, and then I keep on second-guessing myself. Like, Jesus. Yeah, self-deprecating. So last time that Blizzard was on the launcher, it'd be extra bonus if they mentioned Banshee comes along with it. Yeah, it would, but they don't often overly explain the tournament they're promoting, so it's not like it's out of character. Below 500, Jesus.
Game resumed.
Boy, 500, that's quite a bit. So Kyla is doing a 2-1-1. She's building the barracks. Kind of looks like a gas geyser. It's confused. Miyamori is going for a very fast lair. Never mind. CX. Yeah, I'm guessing it's gonna drop her again. It's getting closer anyways. This very fast lair might just be to put Kyla out of her misery. On specified too. It's gonna be another Nidus Worm all in. We saw her do this against Telia for game number 3. Here she's thrown out versus a Terran player in game number 1. You don't get this fast of a lair without going for a Nidus Worm. This is not a macro build. Do you want to move to Korea in the future for a year? That's very specific. I have dreams, not necessarily aspirations, but dreams of moving to Korea for an extended period of time. It's unfortunately not super realistic. They start sounding weird and wrong all of a sudden. I know, right? Why are words like this? There's the Nidus Worm. So Kyla should know that something is up. But, you know, the unfortunate thing about the lag here is that it does oftentimes seem that it's more of a mental problem. Like, there are literal physical problems, not being able to microwave from a baneling fast enough or something like that. But then I think what's even worse is, like, even Miyamori here is getting a little puked by it, is that you're constantly thinking, like, okay, when's it gonna happen again? Oh, it happened again. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so, like, this is so stupid. Like, what do I do to fix it next game? And all the while, you're starting to miss out on very obvious things if you're just purely thinking about the game. So the lack of the third base should be the first tell something's weird, and then she would love to get in to scout exactly what's going on. She didn't quite get close enough. It is a Nidus Worm, and unfortunately it is so early on that while a 2-1-1 eventually gives you a decent amount of production, she won't have a lot of good units for this. This is probably going to be a game 1 victory to Miyamori. Bunkers have to be put down. A tank would have to be popping out of this factory, so you go for a tech lab instead of a factory instead of a reactor once you realize what it is. And she didn't realize what it was. And unfortunately doesn't have enough Marines to really combat this. I mean, it is such an early Nidus Worm that it also isn't a lot of units. So there's the conundrum, but it's more powerful units than what Kyla has right now, especially when she doesn't have Stim or Medevacs out. If she had a cyclone and a medevac, then this is a lot to talk about. But as it is, it's gonna be too much damage. Going for a Woodamine because she had to wait for a tech lab for a cyclone. Woodamine's the only thing she really could get, and that is going to be it. Miyamori takes it number 1. A very quick Nidus Worm. It's one of the best things you can learn from purposefully playing off server. From practicing off server, you're not just getting used to dealing with the ping, you're also getting used to, like, mentally dealing with it. It can be really annoying. I live in a, like, just perfect mix of internet coverage, or I don't know. I actually live in a very high-tech city, which I won't name, but